Assalamualaikum everyone, welcome to the Humble Scholar, and today we are going to discuss propaganda in detail. And let's look at the contents. What we are going to discuss is what is propaganda actually, and how propaganda differs from education, like how is propaganda different from educating people, and then how is it undertaken, like what's the procedure of carrying on a propaganda campaign, and then what are the principles on which a propaganda campaign is based, and what are the propaganda devices that are usually used in propaganda campaigns. And the next one is the agents, and also we are going to see how propaganda has got its so much importance and significance in the modern world. So let's get going. First of all is what is propaganda? You might be wondering. So propaganda is actually basically, the very basic definition is, it is the process of making public opinion the chief factor, or it's a technique which influences the public opinion. And what is the public opinion? Is what the people in a state think about a certain issue, about a certain party, or whatever the situation at hand is, what the people think about it. There's this the public opinion, and propaganda influences the public opinion, and in turn. So how can we define propaganda? Is that it's a technique. So it's a technique to influence or manipulate the beliefs, the attitudes, or actions of the people through various means. It can be speeches, it can be newspapers, it can be press, TV, slogans, etc. So in simple terms, what propaganda does is it influences, it changes what people think, or what are their attitudes towards a certain issue, towards a certain party, and what people do, like whom do they vote, for example. So, and how does it's undertaken? It's through various means, through various ways. It can be the speeches of a political leader, it can be articles in the newspaper, the headlines, it can be through news channels, the press, and it can be through a propaganda through TV, like you do a movie and to give a certain opinion, to imply something, or you can use the slogans are different words. So slogans, like there have been taunts on Pakistan Army that they are neutral, so there have been slogans used as neutrals. So what else is that? It seeks to accomplish certain goals. Of course, now the propagandist undertakes a propaganda, it means there are certain goals that are included. There are certain goals which a propagandist wants to achieve. So in order to attain that certain goals, propagandist uses one-sided facts. So all it happens in propaganda is it's just one-sided picture that is presented before the audience, that can be people, the voters, or the foreigners, etc. So we will look into that detail. So it's just one-sided picture. So when it's one-sided pictures, it means you have manipulated the information, you have certainly engineered with information, you have changed certain info, you have omitted irrelevant facts, like you did not tell the whole story. And what else is that? The propaganda appeals more to emotions than to the reason, because propaganda has a certain emotional appeal towards its audience, that people feel emotionally, their opinions change. And also propaganda is the spreading of ideas which we want people to believe, whether they are true or not. So in the modern world, it's the chief factor for the process of making public opinion. And because propaganda, the basic feature of propaganda is that we want to make people believe what we want them to believe. Like if you want people to believe that the government of our party will be a good one, it will change the whole situation of the country. So this is what we want them to believe, even though our party is not that strong enough to do that. So This is how we give one-sided picture. So if I just tell you one example of this behavior, this propaganda, it will be like in their YouTube channel, Taliban gave us the impression that now jihad, that is the fighting for the cause of Allah, is obligation, and they have used certain verses, and they have omitted the other relevant facts. They have given us the one-sided story that yes, doing jihad is a religious obligation. So an emotional appeal to the people, that is a religious obligation. Whatsoever the fact is, actually what they have omitted is that how the way they carry jihad, they kill the innocent people, and that is what is they are omitting the facts that they kill the innocent people. This is not what the whole story is. When Islam obligates us to carry on the fight, so it doesn't include to kill the innocent people, but Taliban gave us a one-sided story, and this is that it's a religious obligation. So that is how the propaganda works, and what they have used is that YouTube channel, Omar Media. So this is how propaganda works. So let's get into the depth. Now, importance and effectiveness of propaganda. In the modern world, no one can deny the effectiveness of propaganda. Everyone is using propaganda. Like in the modern world, whether it's dictatorship or it's democratic government, they are both using propaganda internally to manipulate their own native people, and externally against the foreigners. So dictatorships carry on propaganda. We can take the example such that in case of coup d'etat in Pakistan, like an army took over the country and took over the government, then we have seen that in educational books they use they have made use of religion so much, and they have also like General Zawal Haq, he have made so many laws, so many strict laws in the name of Islam and religion. So all of those things he had done was a part of propaganda for to give an Islamic basis, a religious basis, legitimate basis of his dictatorship, and to tie the people emotionally in the name of religion. And democracies, how democracies carry propaganda, if we for a moment, if we believe that America did regime change in Pakistan, in that case America, that is also democracy, and Pakistan, that is also democracy. Now America has carried a propaganda against Pakistan. I'm not saying that the regime change was actually, there was a regime change, I'm just saying it as an example, if we take it as an example. So in order to clear the concept, so the propaganda is a slow process indeed, but it is effective one, even if it's carried out professionally, and if the propaganda is repeated again and again, so until it's imprinted on people's mind, then it succeeds surely, and it has a good effect because it changes the public opinion drastically. And it succeeds because of also two reasons. Because the individuals, usually the public, are intellectually deficient. Intellectually deficient are in a sense that if there is a certain issue, and people are usually not really interested in that issue personally. And now what happens is that, but everyone of us actually wants to know what's the scenario is. Take it, the economic crisis of Pakistan. Now some of us know that what's happening actually, but economics is a dry subject, and we are not so interested in economics, but we want to know what's happening. So whatever we will depend upon others to feed us with the information, the required information. And secondly, there are also the bodily limitations. Bodily limitation in the sense that not every individual can be in every incident, present at every incident, so where the incident is happening. So he has to rely on the secondary means of information, that is the second hand or indirect means of information. He cannot get the information first hand. So because of the intellect bodily limitations, he depends on others for the information, and it's not certain that others, like the political parties or government, give him the right information. but they will feed him with the information which they want to. Just like we want to make the people believe what they should, the same sense. And everyone wants to know something about everything. We are just so curious these days to get our hands on information, on updates. So it's also a good method of educating the people. If the propaganda is used in a positive way, then obviously by its a whole propaganda campaign is carried out to achieve certain goals and ends. So in that sense, propaganda educates the people on a certain issue. Like what's happening, if you take the economic crisis of Pakistan, and the government tells us in detail what's going on through newspaper, through press, through TV, through speeches, through conversations, public conversations, public communications, everything, by means using every means. So they are going to educate the people. Or even if some party gives, carries out its own propaganda and gives us the one-sided picture, so at least people will know the one side of the story better than not knowing anything. For a moment, you just consider it. At times, obviously, the party which manipulates the facts so much that it's actually dangerous to know that thing. So the point is, you can befool some people all the time. Like you can make the people stupid and believe in your facts, some people all the time, or all the people for some time. But it's not that you will carry propaganda, you will change the public opinion of all the people and all the time, because at the end of the day everyone gets to know the truth. So it's not so long-term thing. The next thing is that propaganda and education. So actually at times we are unable to distinguish between what is propaganda and whether someone is carrying on is propaganda or someone is educating us. So it can be controversial. So we must distinguish between these two terminologies. What happens is that the educator who wants to educate the people on a certain issue, he states the facts from all sides. He gives us a 360-degree angle, from all around, all sides. He gives his view, and he enables the learners to think critically and to make up their own mind on a certain issue. So what happens is that educator states the facts from all sides, tells us about the whole story, and then it leaves to the people that what they want to now think about that situation. The educator wants the people to and enables the learners to make their own opinion. He do not employ or compel people to think of a certain thing in a certain way, but he just leaves it to the people how a certain person thinks of it. For example, if you take example of Kashmir dispute, so actually we are Pakistanis and Indians are living with our own stories of Kashmir territory. But if there is someone who tells us that okay, this was happened, this was not, and whether someone had signed allegiance paper, his the king of Kashmir at that time, the state, whether he had signed that paper or not, and how India invaded Kashmir, took over, and what Pakistan has played role, and what Taliban and Mujahideen has played role. So at the end of the day, educator will let us know what our opinion is. So it will leave it to ourselves that what we want to think about the situation. On the other hand, if a certain person is carrying a propaganda, he will not teach the people how to think critically, but he will teach the people what to think. He will tell you, this should be your opinion, this is the way you should think about. For example, the Kashmir example again, that now in Pakistani textbooks we have learned that this how Maharaja Hari Singh, I guess he was, if I'm not wrong, I'm not sure, but so how he signed the papers of he signed the papers of Kashmir, and then without even taking the consent of the Muslims, the majority of the people in Kashmir, and India occupied Kashmir and all that. So it's a one-sided story. It seems like a one-sided story, and then we Pakistani people believe that okay, Kashmir people should be given their own right to express their opinion, that whether they should be with India or be with Pakistan, it should be their own opinion, or whether they want to be just an independent state. However, on the other hand, what India thinks is that no, as allegiance was made during that early period, so that is why now Kashmir is part of India legally. So this is our part. So this is how Indians think. So propaganda teaches us not how to think, but what to think. So one man's propaganda may be another man's education, and vice versa. So again, example of Kashmir in this very topic, that Pakistan's propaganda, Indians' propaganda may be Indians' maybe education. So just listen to it carefully. Now the point is, in our textbooks, Pakistan states that what is happening to Kashmir is wrong, and India is occupying Kashmir and all that. So for us Pakistanis, this is our education. So one man's education, this is our education. Okay, Kashmir, what is happening to Kashmir is cruel, and they should be given their basic human rights and their freedom and all these things. So this is our education system. Now if Indians look at this education system, they will think that it's Pakistan's propaganda. So this is Pakistan's propaganda. So this is how it carries out. If we see the angle by which India has presented Indo-Pak history, then to Indians it will seem alright, it will be education, but to Pakistanis we will regard it as Indian propaganda, that Indians are trying to manipulate the facts of history. So this is how propaganda and education can actually be controversial and hard to distinguish. So the next thing is that how is the propaganda undertaken? So what are the stages through which a propaganda campaign is undertaken or carried on? So first of all, we have strategy, then we have tactics, and then we have techniques. Now simply, strategy is concerned with overall campaign and its objectives. So what will be the campaign be like? What are the goals and objectives of the propaganda campaign? Like why is certain party carrying propaganda? So about everything. Now firstly, it refers to aims and policies of a political party. Every political party has certain aims and policies, and usually the aim is to turn the voters' opinion to your side, to take the favor of the public opinion, to take the to make the voters vote for your party and to make your party win. And secondly, it refers to the audience, which is either free voters or foreigners. So what strategy handles or includes is what are the aims and policies of a political party, and what is our audience, whether our audience is either free uncommitted voters who have not yet decided to which party they're going to give their vote, or there are the foreigners. If one country is carrying on propaganda against another country's people, so this will be their audience will be foreigners. So in that case, political party will carry on propaganda to make the people give them vote, the free voters, the uncommitted. So in that case, it will be their audience. The second thing is that tactics. So it's an art of utilizing all the available forces, methods, procedures to achieve the goals of propaganda. So tactics includes all those methods and procedures which are available for the political party or propagandist to carry on its propaganda to achieve its goals. So all the methods and procedures which a propagandist is going to use in order to achieve his goals of propaganda. So it can be so it will be controlling all the means of communication. So the propagandist have to think of what means of communication he's going to use, like whether he's going to use TV or whether he's going to use newspapers, press, etc. And what else is that the propagandist should also decide what will be the timing of the campaign, when he's going to start the campaign, his propaganda campaign. So what will be his audience, everything should be decided by propagandist. So all the tactics, all the procedures, everything. And the techniques. Now there are four techniques which are usually used in propaganda. We're going to discuss it one by one. The first one is publicity. Now, what the publicity is an an organization usually issues an official statement about certain thing. So this will be publicity. The organization or a person is expressing his opinion, he's giving his official statements. For example, Pakistan Army said that we are neutrals. Pakistan Army said that we are neutrals and we are not engineering with the politics. We are not interfering in the politics of Pakistan. So this is what they give publicity. They give their official statement that we are out of it. Second thing is censorship. Censorship is opposite to publicity. Where publicity means that communicating something, censorship means that of omission. You are omitting the facts, and these are when these are two important things and so relevant yet opposite, because when you are carrying a propaganda, you have to propagate certain one-sided story and you have to omit and cover the other aspects that will go against your party. So this is censorship, is that you will give people filtered information which you want them to feed on. So either you will give them a bright side of the picture. If it is about you were on party, that when our party will come to the government, everything will be fine, country will progress, economy will touch the heights of sky. So or otherwise they will give the dark picture, and the dark picture is that okay, so our opponents have for example, Imran Khan says that all the previous parties, Pakistani governments have ruined the economy and resources of Pakistan. The bank balance is empty, and so he has got Pakistan in a very bad state. So this is the dismal picture of he presenting the opposition parties as the culprits. So the next thing is that indoctrination. Indoctrination means that to present the facts or impart the knowledge about something, whether a policy or certain belief or philosophy, in a systematic manner before such persons who are actually immature, who lack experience, who lack education, who are not just who cannot resist the facts you are feeding them with, who cannot critically think. For example, this is just very suitable example. Now, Taliban use is indoctrination to the youth, to young persons. So what they tell them is that okay, this is Islam, you have to fight, this is jihad, this is obligation. So they are indoctrinating them with their they are imparting certain beliefs on them. So now the perceiving person, the youth, is immature, he lacks experience, he has not so much knowledge about Islam and their beliefs. So whatever the propagandist or the Taliban are feeding them with, he will believe. Okay, so he will also believe that if he does a suicide bombing attack, he is going to get Jannah in the next life, in the afterlife. So this is what indoctrination is all about. And other thing is that education. Here education is the method of propaganda, but it's rational, it's factual, it's unbiased, it's not so biased, and it's less one-sided as compared to other techniques. Here in education, for example, we have learned through our whole education of Pak studies that India is the bad guy, and India is always trying to harm Pakistan. So this is what education is. Or the foreign countries teach the students that Pakistan is a terrorist country. So this is what education is. So somehow, because in Pakistan there have been terrorists, there is now TTP and everything, so it's a little unbiased and it's more rational but it's through education that propaganda is also undertaken. The video has got so long, so I'm going to cut it off here. Please do watch the next video to get to know about the principles of propaganda and the most important propaganda devices and the types of agents also. Thank you so much.